next panel will be the Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan and critical to the basin. With that, we have the opportunity, we're going to have Chaplin come up in a second, but as part of that, we have from Devin Middlebrook, from the Government Affairs Manager for TRPA, that I've had the pleasure of working with for quite a while now. Good to see you. We, of course, have Amy Berry, the CEO from the Tahoe Fund. We're grateful for all your great work. And this gentleman, Daniel Cressy, Public Service Staff Officer for Lake Tahoe Management Basin. I haven't worked much with him, but so far our experience has been good. With that, don't need to have much more introduction to one of our spotlight winners, Chaplin, who for 40 years has been helping try to keep things going straight here in the Tahoe Basin.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I know you guys are kind of getting tired of sitting, and we're going to blast through this, but I do have to say this is probably the most important project that I can be working on right now, along with some great friends and professionals who, over the last 2 years, we've been working together on the Destination Stewardship Plan, a collaboration around the Tahoe Basin to address the tourism, our economy, and our residents, and try to consider all those into a balanced lifestyle and economy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to these folks, Devin Middlebrook, as you've been introduced, but they're going to go through our plan process over the last 2 years, and then we'll have a couple of questions, and Devin may have to run out to take a phone call, so if he runs off the stage, it's only because he has a lot going on, and well, you guys can run off the stage too, but since you have a lot going on, but not until we're done with you. So Devin, do you want to kick it off?
Great, thank you, Carol. Again, Devin Middlebrook with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. It looks like our slides are up. Very happy to be here today to talk about destination stewardship, one of the latest buzzwords in the outdoor recreation world, and we'll talk about that a little bit. You can go to the next slide. Overall, recreation is booming in the country, in our backyard, in Tahoe. We all know that. We all see that every day. Next slide. And while that's great for business and great for getting people outdoors and enjoying their public lands, it comes with challenges: traffic, trash, congestion, crowding our recreation sites. Especially in the last few years, we've really seen an increase in that. And we're here to talk to you today about what we're doing about it and your role as the business community and how you can help. Next slide. So following the COVID-19 pandemic and the rise in demand for recreation and tourism at Tahoe, partners across the basin came together in February 2021 to start addressing the issues that we were hearing from the community, from the business community, and seeing on the ground in the environment. You can go to the next slide. Really, all of this really led to the idea that we needed a new plan and a new vision for what the future of rec and tourism looks like in our region. You can go forward. So this new process, next slide, brought together 18 different organizations, business groups, nonprofits, government agencies across the region to tackle this new challenge, this emerging challenge. And just really want to highlight for the first time all of our destination marketing organizations, such as the Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority, local governments, recreation providers, and businesses came together, which is a new partnership that hasn't happened before and very important to this process. Next slide. Next slide. Throughout a 1.5-year process, we talked to over 3,000 people in the community to get their input on what they wanted to see. Next slide. Just highlight again how important recreation is to the economy. In 2022, $4.5 billion in direct spending with a total economic impact of over $10 billion in the local economy. Next slide. Residents, they love living here. They love the outdoors. Everyone loves living in Tahoe, but residents aren't seeing how tourism and all of our visitors are contributing to their quality of life. They really think that tourism is negatively impacting them instead of positively impacting them, which it should be doing, and the system we want to create will do. Next slide. Visitors, and this is important for the folks running businesses in this community. Overwhelmingly, visitors want to see destinations that they're visiting be sustainable, be stewards of the environment. It is absolutely a choice folks are making when they decide to visit a destination. So that's very important when you're working on your business and doing your outreach and messaging to folks. That sustainability stewardship piece is driving visitor and spending behavior. Next slide. You can go next. So what are we doing? We have a new plan. A new plan is taking shape. Next slide. Is our Lake Tahoe Destination Stewardship Plan. This is the new plan with multiple actions for the region to move to a more sustainable recreation system, where the vision is that Tahoe is a cherished place where people, communities, and nature benefit from the outdoor recreation economy. We've got guiding principles to guide this work. You can keep going. Just stop on this slide. This is really the big piece of this plan to implement the vision. There's 4 strategic pillars. The first and foremost, and we wanted to make this first because we felt it was the most important, was fostering a tourism economy that gives back, making sure that when folks are coming here, spending their dollars, that those dollars are staying local. They're not just going off the hill and disappearing into the greater nation's economy. We really want to create a circular economy where tourism is tangibly and visibly giving back to the local communities. We want to turn this vision into action. We don't want a plan that just sits on a shelf and doesn't go anywhere, and really want to mobilize and make this an action plan. We want to improve the experience for all, not just visitors to this region, but all of us locals and residents of not only the basin, but the valley just to our east. This is our backyard, and when we're out biking, horseback riding, skiing, we are also visitors to those public lands and need to recognize that piece and make sure all of us are having a great experience. And then finally, you can go back one. Yeah, just stop there. And advancing a culture of taking care, making sure when everyone's on these lands, they're not littering, they're leaving no trace, and they're taking care of the place. So that was our very high level summary of the plan.
That was so good.
It's online at stewardshiptahoe.org, and I'll open it back to Carol for the panelist questions.
Thanks, Devin. You know, I want to emphasize the fact that these 18 organizations, you know, we don't look like each other here. And we do very, very different things. But the last 2 years of collaboration and having conversations about how we move this forward, where we balance the economy and the residents and the visitors, has been so rewarding and has opened up really some new ways of looking at how we approach challenges of tourism and how we look for opportunities to just improve our environment in general. So with that, I want to ask Devin, we actually get asked about how many visitors we have every year here, and that number floats around a lot. And I think that we have kind of landed on that perhaps we have about I just saw 17 million, but 15 to 17 million visitors a year, but they're not the same kind of visitors. So why is it so important that we know how many overnight visitors we have versus day visitors? And how does this play into this destination stewardship plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So the total number of visitors is something everyone wants to know. How many people are coming here? How many people are on our roads? And every year that fluctuates. Some years we have great winters and great summers and there's a lot of people. Some years we have a wildfire that evacuates all of the town and no one can come here. So that bounces around. In 2022, it was about 17 million visitor days, the amount of days visitors spent here. But overall, it averages about to 15 million. But that big number doesn't really tell you much. Yay, there's 15 million people here. What are they doing? Where are they going? What time of year are they here? Carol, you mentioned overnight versus day visitor. Our overnight visitors are a great type of visitor. They're here for a longer amount of time. They don't have all their food with them and all their kitchen accessories, so they're going out to our restaurants. They're going out to our businesses. They forget something, they run down to the store. So that visitor is spending a lot more money here. The day visitor is more of a challenge to understand because they're here for a few hours, maybe half a day. They go home. They may not be visiting our local businesses. And understanding those challenges that come with the different visitation patterns and an event center like this that's really driving more off-season, off-peak visitation, conferences and conventions. This is the type of visitor we want to attract. They have less impact on the environment, less impact on our local communities, but they're still spending their dollars here. So really diving down from that big number to understanding the subtleties within that is really important to not only planning for transportation, planning for the environment, but also for the business community to be able to plan to serve the customers that want to visit your businesses.
So we could talk a long time on this particular subject, and me particularly, because with the convention center, of course, or the event center, we have some requirements on our permit that requires us to invest in microtransit, and we also have a group working on that as well, and that is trying to reduce those vehicle miles traveled. Can you explain a little bit more about vehicle miles traveled?
Yeah, so our organization.
Even though I know a lot about them now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
our organization, the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency, is the Metropolitan Planning Organization for the region, MPO for short. Lots of acronyms getting thrown around in the government talk from me, but that means we're responsible for transportation at the lake, and our primary goal is to get people out of their individual vehicles and onto transit or the trails in order to get them out of their cars, less congestion on the roadways, less negative environmental impact. So vehicle miles traveled is how we measure how many people are driving around, how far they're driving, and what they're doing, and our goal is to reduce that. I myself took Lake Link here to this event today, and it was a great, wonderful experience.
What a brown noser.
Yeah.
They picked me up for free. It took 5 minutes to catch my ride and dropped me off right at the entrance.
And that's going in my report.
It's great, and I don't have to pay for parking. So really, we want to invest in those things. And the unique thing about the microtransit on the South Shore is how driven it is by the private industry. The event center here, as part of their permit conditions for opening, had to start providing microtransit when their doors opened. But the private industry, the private sector, local government said, we don't want to wait 2 years for the building to get built. Let's invest in it now. So that actually started a year and a half before it was supposed to. And that just shows the demand. I think in the first year, they gave 160,000 rides to folks. So it really shows that if you provide that free, fast, and fun alternative, people will take it. And there's data that shows when people bike or take transit, they spend more time shopping, they spend more time at restaurants, and they spend more time in your local businesses. So this isn't just an environmental goal, it is also an economic development goal.
And I would mention that Douglas County has also has contributed to that system. So we're getting there. It still needs some work, but we're getting there. But thanks to all our partners for that. I do want to mention on the number of visitors really quickly, at 15 million visitors. We now understand through this stewardship plan and some of the research that we did, there's about 4 million of those people who are those day visitors, and we're calling them untethered. We can't easily talk to them because they come in, like you said, they have their cooler, they have their kids, they have their plastic sled. I know that's a favorite of yours, Amy. And we can't necessarily get them to get messages to them to say, this is how you behave when you come to someplace like this. And so that's going to be one of our challenges as the DMO for the South Shore, the Destination Marketing Organization. One of our visitor management strategies will be to try to figure out how to get not only to the overnight visitor, which we can easily do, we talk to millions of those people every year, but to try to get to those people that are coming in for a day and enjoying a trail or enjoying a beach or enjoying the fireworks perhaps, and then leaving stuff behind. And so that's going to be a big challenge of ours that we're going to tackle. Amy,
Can I
yes,
jump in
please.
off script on that?
Yes, because otherwise
I
I'm
think
very
about,
self-conscious of my
you talked
questions.
about how do we reach these people, and I think about all the points of contact we have. So let's say we got 15 million people a year coming. How many interactions is each of those person having during the day? The overnight guests have arguably a lot more points of contact. But say if folks are going to a developed recreation site, or they're visiting a business to buy a cup of coffee, each one of those is a point of contact. And I think one of the strategies around the Destination Stewardship Plan is how do we leverage each of those points of contact to help collectively that experience the expectations and experience be reinforced. That idea of this is a beautiful place, and this is a place that takes all of us to take care of if we want it to stay beautiful, and we all have a role to play. So that's, I think, part of how we looking for how do we leverage each of those points of contact. My latest metaphor is like we all have our superpowers, and how can we take advantage of our superpowers, whether that is like decisions about what we print on our paper cup, or the signage we put out at our rec site. Hopefully there's a reinforced culture that we're trying to build around how recreation and tourism can be successful at Tahoe.
Thank you. That leads right into Ms. Berry with a question about the Tahoe Fund. And you have a lot of projects that actually I think are already underway that support the Destination Stewardship Plan. So part of our work is going to be not only taking new projects, but also looking at everything that all of these organizations do, identifying who's taking lead on it or who's down the road on it, and helping to support them further. So Amy, can you tell us a little bit about what the Tahoe Fund already does in this space?
Yeah, sure. Well, the one thing I can tell you is the Tahoe Fund doesn't really do anything on our own. We were built as a collaborative organization. So for those who don't know, we're a nonprofit. Our whole focus is raising private funds for different environmental projects. And we are very involved in destination stewardship, sustainable recreation and stewardship. We've been funding the Take Care Tahoe campaign now for almost 10 years with 50 different partners trying to do exactly what Daniel said, which is build this culture of caretaking in the region. So some of the projects that we've been really happy to help support and kind of foster along is Take Care Tahoe. Has anyone seen the billboard? If you drive up 50 from Spooner, it'll say, you know, if it's your dog, then it's your duty. Ditch the plastic water bottles. You know, the best tasting water is 10 miles ahead. Bypass plastics. So it's a series of campaign messages that are trying to kind of build that culture. If you drive in on any of the major highways into the lake, you will see those billboards. But then when you get here, you'll see a number of different signs around. And then that has been expanded. We helped some folks launch an ambassador program a few years ago to put young high school kids to work in the summer as Take Care Tahoe ambassadors. We bought these super dorky uniforms so that they would stand out there and not look intimidating in any way whatsoever. They told us they were maybe too dorky and they wouldn't wear all of them, but you know, they have Take Care shirts and they had like kind of fly fishing vests with lots of pockets so they could have dog poop bags and maps and everything in there. And these cute little bucket hats, and they told us right away we are not wearing the bucket hats. So, but the idea behind the ambassadors is that it's just a friendly face when you arrive somewhere in the basin, and that if you have questions, they're right there able to answer it. You know, how far is this? Is there water? Can I bring my dog? Hey, don't forget to put your dog on a leash. Oh, you have a dog. Let me give you some dog poop bags to remind you to do that. And so that program's grown over the last few years. It's really exciting. The city of South Lake Tahoe actually decided to just build it into their Parks and Rec department. So they're really looking at it as workforce development. And they're really aligned with law enforcement as well, because sometimes unfortunate things happen at busy trailheads and they can call the police and the police will come and be the enforcers. They're just there to kind of be the happy, friendly people. So that's a program that's been underway for a couple years with great results.
And then there's an eagle that just landed.
Oh yeah, if you walk outside of the building, you might notice a new sculpture. It's a bald eagle carrying a Lahontan cutthroat trout on a ponderosa pine. It's entirely made of trash that was picked up out of the lake on the 72-mile scuba cleanup. So we commissioned artists we raised about $250,000 with the help of Tahoe Blue Vodka and some others to put the divers in the water. And we knew when it was over, it was going to be something that we wanted to memorialize for a very long time. And we started looking around, and there's just a trend across the country and the world to combine art and environment together and to reuse this plastic and other materials that are found. So if you didn't see it on your way in, I can't recommend enough. Go check it out. We paid a lot of money for that sculpture, and I was like, we'll see how this goes. And I just saw it for the first time yesterday, and I've been smiling ever since. I'm just absolutely blown away by the level of detail. So go check that out. But that's a great example. We went to Carol and said, hey, you're building this beautiful center. It's centered around sustainability. What do you think if we put this beautiful sculpture here to really remind people and enforce, like, hey, this is a beautiful sculpture, but it happened to come from trash we found at the bottom of the lake. That was created by us. So it stands as a great reminder to people, like, everyone has a role to play in helping take care of Tahoe.
And it
Anything
did
else?
come out beautifully. I didn't know that it was gonna, she called me and said, we'd like to put some trash out in front of your event center, and I was like, I might have to take that to the board. But it is, it's great,
Yeah.
and it's a beautiful feature, and it's going to have a plaque that talks about this, so as Daniel was saying, touch points, we can talk to these people and say, you know, without hammering them, we can get them to kind of be thinking about where they are and what's important to us
Yeah.
and how to.
There's one more project that's not nearly as sexy, but could end up being one of the more important projects we work on, which is you can do education all day long, but if you don't have a level of enforcement next to education, you're not going to be totally successful. And so we are working with all of the law enforcement agencies and all of the counties around the entire basin to look at putting a paid parking enforcement program in place. And it's not so much that we're looking in the cities where we know it's a little bit of a hot button around here, but it's really the undeveloped sites. So for anyone that's driven around Emerald Bay on a busy day or up 28, it's really scary. There are people parked kind of everywhere, and as long as they think their tires over the white line, they can park there. And unfortunately, a lot of people can't get their tires over the white line. And right now, the way that the rules are written, the laws, NHP and CHP can write parking tickets, and California and Nevada State Parks can help out if they have resources, but we know no one has extra resources right now. So the idea is, could we create a program where we pay parking enforcement professionals, they used to be called meter maids, to cruise around and write all of those parking tickets? Because either we're gonna raise a ton of money so we can have more garbage cans and better destination management infrastructure, or we're gonna see better enforcement and there won't be as many people parked illegally everywhere. And social science tells us that people do cultural norms, right? So all it takes is like 2 or 3 people to start parking illegally somewhere, and then 100 people park illegally there. So if we can nip that in the bud, we could really change what the experience is gonna be. And then in addition to that, I should say there's 3 E's. There's education, enforcement, and the last one is the Forest Service calls engineering, but it's basically infrastructure. So we're working with all of our partners to help expand the East Shore Trail from from Sand Harbor to Spooner Summit, which is a little bit of getting close to Douglas County. And that project begins with all new parking lots to get people off of the street into proper parking areas. So Chimney Beach is going from 20 to 130 parking spots. Secret Harbor is going from 30 to 100 parking spots. They're going to build a brand new parking lot right across the street from Spooner Lake State Park. And the idea is, once we get these proper parking lots built, then we can go to law enforcement and the judge and say, can we please make this a no parking zone? People have to park in the parking lots, and then we'll bring in public transportation to get people up and down the corridor. So there's a lot of, we can teach people, we can enforce it, and then we can just design it in a way where it's hard to do the wrong thing and it's easy to do the right thing.
And Daniel, over to you for something. We know that the Forest Service here in the basin owns about 80% of the land. So there's not a lot of land that is not owned by the Forest Service. What do you think the Destination Stewardship Plan, what do you see as the goal for that plan from the Forest Service perspective? How can that help with some of your challenges since the pandemic?
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a big question.
It is a big question. So Forest Service.
Say goodbye to Devin.
Thanks, Devin.
Bye, Devin.
So, Forest Service mission is about, caring for the land and serving the people. And it's both providing for current generations as well as future generations. So we've got this sort of temporal spectrum that we're managing. I think one of the points Amy rose, like, how do we empower people to take responsibility for and recognize the value of their role. I do think that one of our society's greatest legacies is public land and providing that access, not just for ourselves to enjoy, but for those that come after us, and that fostering that connection to the outdoors and appreciation for the splendor of the country, as well as an understanding of how do our daily lives, how is that connected to these public lands? Where does our water come from? How did the electrical transmission get from point A to point B? A lot of that relates to public lands. I think about recreation. That's the program that I manage mostly. As how do we facilitate that understanding and appreciation, and take advantage and sort of lean into this idea that connecting to nature and connecting to the outdoors can be this life-transforming experience. My goal is not to provide a small patch of ground that people can spend the night on. My goal is to provide an opportunity for someone to experience sleeping outdoors, and what is that like, and what if you wake up in the night and you see the stars rather than your ceiling fan, that is a different kind of an experience. And so I'm looking forward for the Destination Stewardship Plan, and working together as a council, again, that sort of idea of how are we leveraging these superpowers, and that metaphor is already getting old for me, but, you know,
I like the
the
thought.
problems, the challenges that we have today are the ones that we've not been able to solve over the last couple generations. So like the easy stuff we've dealt with. You know, we could do it ourselves, we could just do it. The things we're left with require multi-party, multi-stakeholder solutions to help us think differently. You know, that the adage of, you know, the thinking that got us to where we are now is not the thinking we need to get us where we need to go. So as I think about public lands, we're now, from a Forest Service culture, thinking like, wait, maybe we don't have all the answers. And we need our various stakeholders and different perspectives to help us design and implement through partnerships and through new ideas, ways to remain relevant and connect our public to their lands and sustain those lands. And I think there's we can't ignore that interconnection between, you know, it takes, you know, our simplified ecosystem, we've got public lands, we've got our community, and we've got our business sectors. And all, that's the holy trifecta, right? You need everything to work together to develop sustainable solutions and help us move in a direction that we've not been able to so far move towards. And we are moving in those directions. So I'm looking to the council to help identify new ideas, help leverage those connections as resources, help empower, you know, every community member and business owner and business patron and community, you know, resident, everybody that enjoys their land, to realize that, one, this is really special. Two, these values are at risk, and that three, like, we all have a role to play in moving towards a desired condition. There's going to be some challenges for us. You know, one of the things I'm looking for the council is how do we, let's identify some uncomfortable solutions, you know, that are pushing our comfort zone, because I think realistically that's where we need to go. And I was impressed by the county awards, the categories, and they're totally relevant for everything we're talking about here, like giving back, partnerships, preservation, and innovation. And that's, you know, the council is, I think, trying to bring those together, you know, in our setting. And you know, it's not just the Tahoe Basin. We're thinking more broadly. It's the Tahoe region. Anywhere that feels like they've got Tahoe as part of their identity is part of this plan, in my mind.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
So,
I was just gonna
yeah.
say, I mean, people ask me all the time, like, what is this Destination Stewardship Plan? Like, it's a kind of a weird term, the words go sort of front back, but to me, it dawned on us when we were getting this new group together that if you think of the Tahoe region as like one big resort, Disneyland, some people refer to it as lately, it's almost as if for the last 5-6 decades, we've had a sales and marketing team that's never talked to the operations team. And for the first time ever, that slide you saw with the 18 partners, that's everybody getting around the table. So it's like, great, now we're all around the table. What is our strategic goal for this resort? And that's really what the destination plan is saying, we've got to figure this stuff out. And I think COVID was a real wake-up call to everybody to say, like, things are not going particularly great. They could go better. And I think, what do they say? The first part of fixing a problem is admitting that you have a problem. And I think that's what you're seeing is a different makeup of organizations all around the table saying, we all have a really strong belief that we can have a really strong economy, we can take care of our environment, and we can take care of our community, but we need to do it differently, and we need to do it a little bit better than we are. And so ultimately, that's the goal, I think, of the initiative and the plan. What that ends up looking like over the next couple of years is still a little in the sausage-making world, but we're gonna have a council. We're gonna hire somebody to come in and run the council because it's too hard for 18 of us to agree on things. We need somebody to come in and tell us how to agree on things, but for the most part. And then we'll have very actionable plans, because when next June shows up, we can't be surprised when the crowds show up again. Or even this winter when it starts snowing again and the crowds show up to ski, we can't be surprised by that. It literally happens every single year at the same time. So I think what we're really committed to, and you have our pledge across everybody, is it's gonna look different in the future because it has to.
Well, I know you guys have sat longer than you wanted to, but we'd love for you to keep track of what we're doing. We have committed not to have this plan sit on a shelf. As Amy said, we are looking for someone to help keep us together after we've done some of the, not the heaviest lifting, but part of the lifting. So we still think we need some other players at the table, some other partners. But we are committed to doing things differently, creating that balance that we talked about at the beginning. And if you have any questions, I know everybody has to go, but we are available. You know how to get us. You know how to find us.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much.